All right, welcome everyone.
20% on denim apparel.
We're going to start with a poll. We want to know who's in the space. So, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being low, 5 being proficient, this is a no judgment space. How confident do you feel about using AI in either your teaching and or lesson planning? And if you're not in those worlds, then how comfortable do you feel using AI? We just want to get to know where you're at. So go ahead and take a moment and answer that, and we'll share the results. 1 to 5.
We have about 60% of y'all answered.
How confident do you feel? Are you using every day? Have you just started? You've been doing it for years.
Okay, I'm gonna stop the poll because it seems like everyone who wants to take it has taken it. And I'm gonna share the results. So we see a good spread. We have no 5, so there was no experts here, which makes sense because how can you be an AI expert? But hopefully by the end of this webinar, you're closer to 5, closer to 4, and you get some tools and ideas on how you can increase your level of comfort using AI in the classroom.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to introduce the moderators. Welcome to this space. So glad to have you here. My name is Monica Giudici. I have a master's in urban education and social justice. I was a middle school humanities teacher and instructional coach for over 11 years. And now I'm working with FreePick and SlidesGo. I love teachers, and I do this work because I want to support teachers. Y'all have so much going on, and we want to find ways to use tech to maximize your efforts and make life a little bit more efficient. So that's who I am, and I'm going to pass it over to Enrique.
Absolutely. Thank you, Monica. My name is Enrique Lopez Lopez. I have a background in sociology. I have a master's in sociology, and I was able to teach sociology at the university level for about 4 years. And for SlidesGo, I was able to integrate my passion for research and educational research to look for answers and solutions that teachers need to make SlidesGo more productive for them, as well as other edtech tools. So hopefully today you get some insights on how the vision that we have for edtech integration in the classroom can also be supportive to you.
And last thing, I want to do a plug here. Can you go back for a second? Can you all raise your hand if you are part of the Circle or the Facebook community already? If you're not, I moderate the Circle community. I see some hands being raised already. Enrique is in our Facebook group. So we're going to talk a little bit about the ways that we can get y'all involved in the community a little bit more. We love to hear from you and support you those ways. So, oh, I see lots of hands. So thank you. And we'll talk more about that at the end of the session.
Sweet. So our agenda for the day, it's broken down in 4 sections. We're going to start with Thafir, who's going to be talking to us about how he has been able to manage his classroom using technology. We're going to move into practices of lesson planning and how you can use SlidesGo and lesson planning with Alle. And then we're going to move to Stacie, who's going to close us with some demos on FreePick and other edtech tools that she has been able to integrate in her classroom and lesson planning to have a more successful classroom. And then at the end, we're going to be offering 3 premium subscriptions that we're going to raffle for those who stay until the end. And we're going to give you some notes on things that you're going to be expecting from us in the future, and more ways that you can get engaged with us in the future as well.
All right, now I'm going to introduce our incredible teachers. So you're going to hear more from them at the beginning of their presentations. They're going to give their own bios. But in order to start things out a little bit fun, I know that as teachers, you know that snack drawer is really important because teaching is exhausting and we need our snacks. So I'm going to have them unmute and share with the group if you were to open your snack drawer right now and there was like the perfect snack in there, what would be in there? So Alle, can I start with you? What's your perfect snack?
Yes. Hi, everybody. I am addicted to peachy gummies, like the Haribo specifically.
Nice.
Nice.
Stacie?
So mine would definitely have to be the sour cream and cheddar ruffles. Totally my yeah, that's my weakness.
I finished an entire bag of those once. And Thafir, what's yours?
On the salty train, definitely any flavor of Pringles, almost any flavor of Pringles, for sure.
Nice. All right, thank y'all. Now you'll hear more about them, but before we go into our presentations, we got one last thing, and that is webinar norms and tech. Take it away.
Yes, so some basic rules for our webinar. We're gonna ask you to just be kind, chat to the presenters. The question that you ask, just be respectful, use nice language. And the second thing is we really encourage your curiosity, and we encourage as many questions as you can ask us that are relevant to the material. Please send those questions to the Q&A section at Zoom, and Monica and I will be able to monitor those questions throughout the webinar and try to answer them as best as we can. So without further ado, we're going to start with Thafir. Do you want to introduce yourself? And I'm going to allow you to share your screen as well. So I'm going to help out and you can share you as well.
Sounds good. Let me go ahead and do that right now. One sec. All right, I have an issue here. All right, can y'all see my screen?
There we go. Yes.
Cool.
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Thafir Elzofri. I will be talking about managing with tech. I'm going to start my 20 minutes and really just moving beyond compliance. Before I start, I do want to mention that mine is not super like the tech heavy part. It's really, I do want to talk about, there will be some ed tech and some things hopefully that you can walk away with. But I do want to talk about like that there will be some prereqs that we will talk about, especially when talking about managing in the classroom and setting up your classroom for success. I want to make sure enter full screen. There we go. So really quickly, I just want to introduce myself. So why me, why now? Quick background, I went to Wesleyan in Connecticut, if you know it. It's a small liberal arts school. I actually studied government, very related to teaching, not really. I did teach for America. I'm an alum in the Bay Area. I'm still teaching now. I went through Loyola Marymount for my residency for teaching. And I've taught at traditional publics. My first year teaching, I got pink slipped and found myself at public charters. So I got the full teaching experience. And actually started finding myself taken seriously when I started incorporating ed tech into the classroom space, especially that little thing called COVID, when people started needing more technology and knowing a little bit more about technology. And after COVID, when we started noticing more of like behavior and students not really getting along with each other and seeing that kind of translate in the classroom and not being able to access material. I didn't really see that much of a dip in my, luckily, I didn't really see that much of a dip in a lot of my students' data when it came to their understanding and learning because I was still using technology. And I wanted to show a little bit of how that looked. Post-COVID, this is my students reading. Most of them were reading at first, second grade level in fifth grade. And we ended the year with most of them reading at fifth grade level. And this was because of the intentionality behind how they were using technology in the space while I was really trying to do targeted instruction. So I really want us to focus in this section about like, what does academic management look like and sound like in our spaces? So the objectives for our time together is that we will really make a distinction between what does behavioral and academic management look like and what is the connection between the two. We are able to make a connection between differentiation and ed tech and learn practical ways to incorporate ed tech into our spaces, and really some effective strategies and prereqs to establish with students before rolling out any new routines and procedures when it comes to any ed tech in our classroom spaces. Also, I want to name, I was a coach last year However, I decided to go back this year into the classroom as I am pursuing my master's. Decided to go back to school. So I was coaching before in some of the stuff. So with all that, let's jump in. Let's define classroom management really briefly. I'm not sure if I can see the chat, but I would love to do a quick thought exercise with you all. Think about your classroom, if you're a classroom teacher, or a classroom that you recently visited. What do you hope to see? What do you hope to hear? Or what do you hope to feel more of when you visit? So what do you hope to see? What do you hope to feel more of when you visit a classroom?
We got a question, and yes, this will be recorded, and the recording will be shared with everyone at the end of the webinar. Someone shared also, they responded engagement and interest in learning.
Absolutely. See chat, I'm here, see chat disabled, but I also see someone say curiosity in the answer section. Absolutely. Trust and curiosity I'm seeing as well. Absolutely. For engagement, for trust, for curiosity, all those things that were named, those things have to be built, right? Those things cannot happen on day one. So I'm seeing also high rigor, trust, student engagement. So in classroom management, I think about it in two ways. There's the procedural and there's the academic. So students are meeting the expectation and routines and procedures, and the teacher is monitoring and incentivizing. So that can look like, I see Enrique is entering at a voice level 0. I see Monica is grabbing her computer with 2 hands, right? That's all procedural. The academic piece is, I see Enrique is using a topic sentence on his paper. I see Monica is using an opening slide on her PowerPoint, right? So those are all the academic components that we want to get to students to use. But we owe it to all of our kiddos to get to the academic part much sooner than we do. But oftentimes I hear from teachers, it's really difficult for us to get to the academic quickly because our students aren't able to access the material, or our students are in different parts, right? My example was one of them. A lot of my students weren't able to access a 5th grade chapter book. So this is the part where targeted instruction and ed tech comes into play. What does it look like to plan for our most challenging student? And when I say challenging, it can mean challenging for you as a teacher, right? It takes a lot more time and effort to plan, or challenging when it comes to our lowest student, right? There was this quote, Monica, I know, have you lift the voice, different voice into the space?
Yes. While many kids need help with their social and emotional skills, one of the worst things we can do for a child is lower our expectations because we feel bad or sorry for them. Instead, have high expectations for them and give them the additional supports and scaffolds needed to get there. High expectations are needed for all.
Thank you. So I want to be clear that setting high expectations is not about demanding perfection or imposing unrealistic standards. It's about communicating clear and concisely what you're looking for students in terms of behavior, effort, and achievement. So really, I want us to really think about shifting this idea of behavioral management and rather academic management, right? So having high expectation and scaffolds help us manage behavior. When students are avoiding something, or when students are seeking attention, it's because maybe they can't access that material, right? So I want us to take a look at this video that I found. It is taking a look at students on the spectrum or students with disabilities. However, it does have a really great look into students that need more support, and also talking about, as educators, how can we plan for students? So as you're watching this, I want you to think about a few things. Think about how can you ensure you reach all students by focusing on one student? I know it's weird. How can you focus on all students by just focusing on one student? But also, how can technology play a role in that? So I'm gonna go ahead and play it. And Enrique or Monica, show me them if you guys can hear it before I. No? Try to reshare. All right. It's not letting me press sound for some reason.
Okay, do you want to try again? It should work now.
There we go. All right. How about that?
PhD student at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver. As Canadians, we have a reputation for finding and embracing the strength in our diversity. This value, however, hasn't been reflected in our classrooms, which still segregates students by ability, especially students with developmental disabilities. There's a gap in our understanding about what we know inclusive education to be, philosophically, versus what we understand and the importance of understanding inclusion in our practice. This is the question I'm trying to answer in my research, is how can we find the value in the day-to-day practice in our classrooms in terms of inclusive education? So how am I going to explain this to you? Now I can sit here and try and describe this, or we could have a little bit more fun. Why don't we go bowling? So let's talk about bowling. You have 10 pins, you have 2 balls, and you have a lane. The goal is to knock down as many pins as you can. But if you don't get them all, it's okay because you have another chance. But when I bowl and roll the ball down the middle and I don't knock them all down, what often ends up happening to me is that there's 2 pins left standing on either end and they stare at you. It's the 7-10 split and it's the hardest shot in bowling. How is bowling like teaching? The ball was the lesson, the pins are the kids. We aim for the middle, we do the best we can. The pins that are left standing, we often have another chance to kind of get to them, but at the end of the day, those 2 pins that are staring, looking at you, are kids who need the most support and are kids who need the most challenge. So we end up choosing one, and the other one is left standing. I just took all the fun out of bowling. Now, I don't know how many times you've watched professional bowling, but I spent an afternoon watching professional bowling, and let me tell you, there was not one bowler who rolled that ball down the middle of the lane. They throw the ball down the lane at a curve. And I was actually really curious about this, so I called up a professional bowler. He was so excited. I don't think he gets a lot of calls about education. He said the reason why the ball has to enter at a curve is because you will knock down more pins and create a bigger domino effect if you enter at that angle. But in order to do that, you have to change your aim. In order to knock down the most pins with one shot, he aims for the pins that are the hardest to hit. Now let's just let this sink in for a second. We are taught to teach the head pins. We are not taught to teach to the kids who are the furthest and the hardest to get to, the kids with autism, the kids with Down syndrome. The part that's critical here, and it really aligns with universal design for learning, is that so often the supports that we design for those kids on the outside of the lane are actually supports that all of the kids need. This is
Not sure why. But. Sorry, my view is. Okay, my view is off. All right. So I wanted to show that clip. Again, the question was, how can we ensure that we reach all kids by focusing on a specific student in planning, and how can technology support? I want to focus on that last piece there that was mentioned. It is a UDL, Universal Design for Learning, right? Technology is also that. By focusing on a few students as well, is by focusing on one student, or by focusing on a student, that's the hardest to reach, you're also meeting the expectation of a lot of students. Oops, there we go. So how do we support students in the academic management? And how do EdTech how does ed technology support you? Resources that improve academic management.
I'm gonna stop you
Uh,
real quickly. Oh, okay.
okay,
There's
go ahead.
there's just a crazy square blocking some of the screen that keeps
Oh,
popping up. So maybe you can enter full screen.
oh, my bad. Sorry. Thanks for that.
Yeah, just
Sorry. Let's try that again. I can see it still.
Gotta put a curve on your.
Thanks for that. Is that still happening?
You got it. That's great.
It's when I did the sharing audio and optimizing. That's why. Cool. Thanks for that. So, uh, some of those resources that allows us or has allowed me to enter from that curve has been technology, including some of these which I know a lot of us maybe have used, and I know a lot of us we're also going to get a lot of really great demos from. So I'm not going to dive too much into. So Google Classroom is really great because you can also use like SlideSgo templates, which I've used a lot of times, and I use make a copy for each student. And what I love about Google Classroom is that you can actually make groupings for each class. So you can provide scaffolds for specific students, but also make sure you're not over scaffolding for students who don't need it. So sometimes we provide scaffolds for students, and then sometimes your students who are at or above grade level don't actually need them, and we're actually not challenging those students as well. Another thing is Google Read and Write, which is an amazing extension for students. They have this really great feature that allows you to highlight. There's a great resource that I linked here that has really great, this one right here allows them to drag. So if you're using Google Forms, for example, and you have like a screenshot of a passage, they can just drag that across and it reads it to them. And they also have a speech to text. So a student can say, like, verbally say something and it will type it for them, which is really amazing. So again, sometimes students are just getting frustrated that they can't do the work and they will misbehave and then or elope from class. So again, a lot of times that students just need your attention or need that one-on-one support. Sometimes that extension from Google Chrome might be the answer for that, because you can't sit there and scribe for 28 students. But what you can do is download an extension and show them how to use it at one time for 5 minutes, and that will be enough. Canva, we're going to get a really great demo later on. Another one that I really, really love is Flipgrid, which I just found out is getting changed to Flip and is going to be on Microsoft Teams. But it's a really great resource that I like students to orally rehearse before they write their paragraphs or essays, because like 3 or 4 times they do it, they realize they're editing as they say it. So what I have them do is I have them record for 90 seconds. They read their paragraphs and then they give each other feedback. So they record themselves on their computers and they see each other's responses. Another way I use it is during ELD. My students who are in ELD, they practice. So we do sequential order. And we have a rubric in front of us. And we watch it together and we actually grade each other using that rubric. I don't have enough time to show it, but let's see here. I have a student named Mateo. He and his mom made rice at home, and he's like told us how he made his rice.
Add the piece of onion.
So he told us how he makes his.
Okay.
And we looked at the rubric and we said, hey, Mateo, great job saying first you add the oil, then you do this. But when you said add the onion, you did not say next, or you didn't use a transition word. And so the students were using the rubric to give each other grade because they had like an LPAC test coming up. So it was a really great tool that students were able to like also showcase who they are, because again, they're not just test scores or anything. So it was a great tool for us to see them outside of the classroom. And that's the power of technology and like having the phone as well. So with that, high expectation plus scaffolds plus the technology allows us to really manage that academic behavior and not just like monitoring and like surveilling like behavior, like just for compliance. So the takeaway here is that technology should play a role in supporting you in scaffolding and supporting you in your lesson planning. So with intentionality. So as we go through the rest of this webinar, I hope that, you know, that is in the back of your mind as you're learning more and more through these demos. Really quickly, the prerequisites with the last minute and a half that I have. Before all of this, I do want to name one of the things I go over with my students. I don't know if any of you have seen these in your schools, whether the schools that you teach at, the schools you visit, or when you were a student. The 3 Bs. When I was a student, one of them really didn't sit well with me, but also when I'm a teacher. These were at every school that I was at. The one that didn't sit well was be respectful. And because when growing up for me culturally, being respectful in some situations meant don't look, don't make eye contact. But I know in my class, I learned that actually, but no one explicitly told me. So really, when you're in the space where everyone is different, you have to use, you know, technology to really support them in every different way. Building a culture of making mistakes and inclusion and productive struggle builds more confident lifelong learners. And the role of ed tech in lifelong learning is only set to grow. So really think about that as you're setting those prerequisites in your classroom. And with that, I just want to food for thought. I use a Band-Aid example to use equity versus equality, where I say, someone tell me an example of a time you need a Band-Aid, and I give them a Band-Aid. Someone tell me a time you needed, you know, you hurt your wrist, I give them a Band-Aid. And then tell me a time you broke your arm, give them a Band-Aid. Like, wait, I broke my arm, why are you giving me a Band-Aid? And they said, I was like, but I gave everyone the same thing. Like, but they need a doctor and they need like a brace. It's like, so not everyone needs the same thing all the time. Some people need a little more than a Band-Aid, right? And so really just knowing that sometimes this student needs me a little more, and some weeks you'll need me a little more than them. So really, what is that culture you want to build in your space to know that when you're working on your computer, the student is with me, and when you're working on your computer doing these things, it's really to support you. I don't think I have enough time to say what that one word takeaway is, but I thank you for your time and letting me speak. And I hope you can gain at least one thing from this time. And I'm passing it over, I think, to Allie. Yeah. Oh,
Thank you, Thafir. Amazing.
oh, sorry.
All right, as Allie's pulling up her slides, if you want to add in the chat, it should be enabled now. Is there a takeaway that you want to share? Otherwise, turn it over to Allie.
And I believe you're muted right now, Allie.
Sounds about right. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Thafir. I'm so excited to use Google Read and Write. I've never known about that or Flip. So thank you for the new tools for me. So hi, I am here to talk about AI, and teaching and planning and making your lives just a little bit easier, hopefully. So by the end of today, I really hope that you'll all have several practical AI tools to help you start out the school year strong without adding more to your plate. So my name is Alle Kirkland. I am currently a 9th grade teacher at Monte del Sol Charter School in Santa Fe, New Mexico. And I started my teaching career abroad when I was teaching English as a foreign language across Spain, and just really fell in love with teaching with no experience. So I came back and got another degree and came back to my hometown to teach in public school, and I love it. So my approach to technology in the classroom, my goal personally, and I'm sure some of your goals are to find tools that are truly helpful without adding even more to our full plates, because we are busy people and we have a lot to do. So a lot of things we go through technology, we have all of these apps and it's like a whole new learning curve, but I would much rather be given a simple tool that I can use today or tomorrow instead of having to learn like a whole new thing. I really appreciate that AI tools provide structured starting points, especially these tools I'm going to show you today. They're user-friendly, and if we know even a little bit of what we want to do, it's a great start. Another thing, I think a lot of us kind of stick to our familiar things. We use the same thing over and over again, but it's so important to be innovative in the classroom, keeping the kids engaged, using new tools. And honestly, every time I do it, and if I'm excited about it, they get excited about it. And lastly, I think these tools honestly are really beneficial, whether you're in your first year or your 20th year of teaching. I've just started exploring AI. I was a little bit like unsure about it. It seems overwhelming and it's everywhere right now. But I really like these tools that I've already started using them this year, and they're just really simple. So I hope you think so too. So my plan for the day, for the next 20 minutes, is to go through 3 of these tools that I've been playing around with and I think will be beneficial for you on a daily basis. The first one is an icebreaker generator. This is where we can engage students, bell ringers, activities, getting to know you, learning names, however you kind of enjoy either starting your class or also using it as like a transition. The next one is a lesson plan generator. This is a multi-step lesson plan that can have different breakdowns of time and activities and objectives, and it's really, really helpful. Lastly is exit ticket. So this is something I love using in class, but again, I tend to just like use a piece of paper or like write in Google like what you thought about today's lesson. I run out of ideas. So this has really helped me like get more creative, whether I'm assessing or getting feedback, just maybe personal reflection, check-in, whatever. So the first one is icebreakers. I think they're really, really important to use as like maybe getting to know you, quick checks for understanding, maybe reviewing yesterday's lesson, or doing a social emotional check-in, or like right now I'm trying to get to know my students, they're trying to get to know each other. So icebreakers are really important to just like have an environment where students feel supportive and connected and that you actually care about getting to know them, but also hopefully like letting them form some friendships and relationships within the classroom. So one of those examples is just to getting to know you. So the cool thing about putting your prompt in, which we'll see in a second for these icebreakers, is let's say I'm not sure what I want to do or like how to do it, but I know I want to do it in pairs. I know I want them to do it in pairs, not a whole class. So I can put that in the prompt, like pair exercise to get to know each other's names, and AI will do the rest. It's really quite magical. But even if you just know one piece, if you know the setup you want in your classroom, then you can just put that. If you just know what you want to do, so let's say I want to do a formative assessment and I want to know their prior knowledge, but I don't know what grouping I want to do, then I would just put that and it would, again, spit out what the other piece is. Another way I love to use icebreakers is as just a check-in, just like, how are you? But maybe a little bit more specific than that. Or brain breaks or movement. I think no matter what age we teach, I mean, my 9th graders need to stand up and move for a minute. They need a break in a 90 or a 100, I have 100-minute classes this year. So we need a little icebreaker in between. So this is an example of how I might structure my 90-minute blocks. And I just think to maintain engagement, we have to kind of break it up. It can't be a 90-minute like figurative language lesson. They will not be with you for those 90 minutes. So this is a way I use an icebreaker. So let's say we do a low stakes icebreaker, like just what do you know about figurative language? Or, what did you do this summer? Whatever it is. Or something to review or introduce a new topic to see how they feel about it or what their level is. Then I might do a 30-minute lesson, teacher-led instruction, group work, activity, something like that. Then I would put another 20-minute icebreaker. So again, this can just be something engaging, keeping them, it can be on that topic, or it can be totally different. Like, what zoo animal do you identify with? I have no idea. There are endless options. Lastly, I would do a 20-minute exit ticket. Again, this allows me to like assess students either individually or as a group, kind of just to get a feeling of how they've grasped the lesson that we just did. Okay, so this is something I have learned during this process, and that is the very best way to get the best output. So just basically best practices for using AI tools is getting a really good prompt. So it's really important that we are specific and direct. So again, like I just said, do we want pairs? Do we want small group? Do we want whole class? Put that in the prompt because you'll get a lot more quality responses that just have pair work. If you don't know what kind of grouping you want, then you can leave that open. Another one that we want to think about is what outcome do we want? What format do we want? Do we want a written response? Do we want a discussion? Do we want to think pair share? So really thinking about that end product and kind of working backwards from that. And then constraints. Do we want them to write a certain number of paragraphs? Do we want them to write bullet points to summarize an article? Do we want them to do this within 10 minutes? So again, we can put that in the prompt and everything else will kind of fill in the unknowns. So this is our first demo. Welcome to the demo on an icebreaker. So from the SlideSgo homepage, we are going to go to AI and then the icebreaker generator. So my topic here is first day of school activity in pairs, because I know I want to do it in pairs to learn about each other. My participants are 13 to 18, and then I have I know I want a smaller group, so I'm going to say less than 5. So SlideSgo immediately gives us 3 icebreakers, which is so exciting. So I can just look and see what the instructions are, have them pair up, give them a sheet of paper and marker. I may just see like what materials, if there's a rotation, do I want them up and around? The second one is a bingo. So they have bingo cards. So we kind of need to know that we would need to maybe prepare that in advance. But just kind of looking to see which one jumps out at you. I think if we all looked at these 3 options, we may all pick different ones, which is great. So I really like the first day fun. It's all you need is paper and markers or a pen, and it's kind of an interview about each other. And then they write down what they have in common, which I really like. I think it's important for kids to know that they have someone else in class that they have something in common with. So you can download these, which is so wonderful. You can download all 3, or you can just download 1 at a time. And again, or you can copy and paste them, put them into your lesson plans. It's really user friendly. So this is if you download 1, gives you a lovely PDF. You can save this to your Google Drive. You can print it for a sub or for other teachers in your department and say, hey, this one worked really well. So the options are pretty amazing. So next is the lesson plan. So this is kind of the bulk of our teaching of, if we need an intro and we need to get into the meat of the lesson. So this is an example of something I enjoy teaching and I often teach is figurative language. Not everyone is on that same page, but that's okay. That's why we all teach what we want to teach. I just kind of pulled up a literacy standard for 9th grade having to do with figurative language. And this was my prompt. So I originally, this is why it's kind of fun to play around with these tools. I originally just had figurative language stations with different types of activities. So I ran that through the generator, and I just wasn't, it was a really general response on figurative language, and it was having me come up with a lot of materials because it just couldn't like zoom in on like, what do you want to teach? So I added and examples of metaphors and similes, and I got exactly what I wanted. So it makes a difference on like, what, again, those little pieces of detail that you put in can really make a huge difference. So here is our lesson plan generator. So again, from the home page, you're going to go to lesson plan generator, and I'm going to put in the prompt that I just spoke about. Classroom setting is in person, high school. Auto is English for language. And here we go. So it's going to come out with our objectives. I see the keywords like identify, compose, understand, participate. Those are kind of, separately accessible. The materials, super handy to have that. And then it's broken down by time frame, 10 minutes as an introduction, kind of check in, asking what they know about it, and then figurative language stations, which I love. And here they're like identifying metaphor, creating similes, analyzing figurative language in a poem, and then matching metaphor and simile with their meaning. So they're doing different skills with these stations, but again, it's focused on these two pieces. Then we have a class discussion for 10 minutes. Then we have an assessment. So you can observe them, you can evaluate them. The options are pretty endless. I don't know what's happening there. Okay. All right. Okay. So our exit ticket. I think the importance of exit tickets are really, it provides closure to what they've learned. We can gather valuable feedback from our students to guide our instruction. I know I often kind of like, oh yeah, they got it. And then I do an exit ticket and I'm like, we need to teach that again tomorrow. So a really good, like quick and easy thing to check, real time of student understanding. And we can also have reflection. That could be, how are you feeling about this? Or, if you're having a discussion, they may need to just get something out on paper that may not necessarily be an assessment. We can also do a quick assessment, like I just said, that can help us really know like the level of understanding and how to kind of pace our future lessons. And then feedback. I really like to use exit tickets as just like, what worked for you in this lesson today? What didn't, and just kind of see what students respond to help my teaching. So here is a demo I did on transition sentences between paragraphs. So this is kind of an example of a quick assessment to see if they got the lesson. So again, AI, then we're going to go to exit ticket, transition sentence between paragraphs. Then you're going to select your grade and then evaluation type here. So there's 5 different parts that you can, or options you can choose from. I like to do auto because it gives you a mix of all of them. So unless you want something super specific, like think, pair, share, I've gotten the most luck out of doing auto in this tool, just because then I have more to choose from. So here are 3 options. I love, love, love that these have answers. So there are, it's like write a short paragraph and that has an answer. There's some multiple choice. There for a while, in contrast, nevertheless, great examples of transitions. Another one kind of has you like look at different sentences and put the correct transition in. There's analyzing text, revising a paragraph, and like making, fixing any mistakes that are there. So the exit ticket, I know we're not supposed to have a favorite, but this might be mine. So the transition, so this is like, again, if I downloaded one, and it's like, you could print this out and it could just be a quick little exit ticket, multiple choice, quiz, combo of the tools. So I really like that one.
The exit ticket is also my favorite, Allie, so.
Okay. So why should we use AI generator tools? I really think that students are engaged more when we have more tricks up our sleeves. I mean, if we're bored with doing the same thing, they probably are too. But this is convenient. I mean, as you can see, like all of the landing pages look the same. It's not this big learning curve. I know we all get a little bit like intimidated by new things and new apps and new, our schools may be throwing things at us that we have to use, but this is something I want to use, honestly. And the more teachers using these tools, AI learns. So if more of us are putting in, oh, I want pair work or I want small group work, it's going to come up with more pair activities and more small group activities. And it learns that like, if I don't pick any of those and I run the same prompt again, it's going to give me different options, even with the exact same wording. So I love that. It may give us different skills. It may give us different supplies, classroom formations, the way students are interacting with each other. We can also download these, copy and paste them into lesson plans. If we have a certain template to turn into admin or something, it's all like movable. And I've even played with copying and pasting like the icebreakers and exit tickets and putting them into the lesson plan generator just because I love that one icebreaker, and the icebreaker in the lesson tool may not be my favorite. So it's just all very movable, very flexible. It gives us more choices and flexibility in planning. So I think it will make your life a little bit easier. So now it's your turn. You guys get to play around with the exit ticket generator. So I'm curious, if you put something in the exit ticket prompt, think of something that you may do in your classroom. Either like a social emotional check-in, something to maybe what you taught today to see if they got it. And I'm just going to go back to my prompt tips. Just to remind you of like keywords that are helpful. So I would
I
love
put
to
a link in the chat for everybody. If you click on that, it'll take you right to the exit ticket generator too.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Hmm.
And if anybody wants to share in the chat, like what prompt you put in, just to see our different types of prompts we may. That's part of the fun too. So I'm almost out of time. I just really want to thank you guys all, and I hope this makes your planning easier and that starts your school year more successful. And I think the more we explore and experiment with these, the better they will serve us and our students. So thank you again.
Thank you, Allie. Yay. AI in the room. Okay. As Stacie's getting prepared. Yep, I see a stretch break. Seems about right. I'm gonna do a little stretch break myself. Everyone's doing great. We are on time. Look at these punctual teachers. Stacie, feel free to pull up your slides whenever you want, and we are going to roll into our amazing third teacher.
And
As it would be.
remember, this is our final teacher speaker, but at the end of this, we're also going to be raffling the 3 subscriptions. So we suggest you stay until the end for a chance to take home SlideGo premium subscription as well. But let's take it away, Stacie.
All right. Well, hi, everybody. I'm so glad to be here today. Thank you so much for inviting me. I love sharing a little bit about what I do in the classroom and how it makes my life easier. I think with the introduction of AI and all of the ed tech tools that are out there, it's so nice not to have all of the burden on myself. So thank you again for letting me share these things with you. A little bit about me. I have been in the classroom for 20 years. Over the course of those 20 years, I've taught online and in person. I've taught Spanish 1 all the way through 3. I've been a special education reading and resource teacher. And now currently I do Spanish 1 and a career explorations course called Project Success at the junior high level. So that's grades 7 and 8 for us here in Longview, Texas, and Pine Tree ISD. So that's a little bit about me. Today we are going to go over quite a few things. When they told me I had 30 minutes, I was like, okay, I need to fill this with as much as I possibly can. So I'm gonna go fast. So y'all have to listen fast just to make sure that that we get through everything that I would love to impart to you guys. So first I want to talk about kickstarting your creativity. It all has to do with the slide deck that you choose. So after coming back to the classroom from teaching virtually for 10 years, my bag of tricks, it just didn't work anymore. I was teaching Spanish for so long, and then I started teaching Spanish online, and I only had 1 live lesson a week with my kids. And other than that, I just really didn't have that whole lot of interaction besides email. And so when I came back into the brick and mortar classroom, I was miserable and my kids were miserable. We were all just so frustrated because I wasn't up to date with all the things that were currently out. I didn't know about any ed tech tools or anything like that. And I was so frustrated, which led to probably the worst year I've had in teaching, which was kind of crazy, right? Because that was only just a few years ago. Usually it's your first year of teaching, but not for me. This last one was awful. So during the course of that year, I remember that one of my students and one of the presentations that I had them do, she actually came up with a SlideGo presentation, and I was just kind of awed, like, how did you come up with that? You know, it's not a Google template. I don't know where you got that from, but that is awesome. And she showed me SlideGo, and then kind of from there, I just have been, it just really exploded. Just knowing that there's these tools out there that you can easily incorporate it into your classroom, to make it more engaging and to make your life easier. So that just kind of kick-started me for everything. And then I started taking all of the presentations that I had and transferring them into templates that SlideGo has. So for this particular one, I was searching for something that would go with Get in the Habit, which in my career explorations course, I teach the 7 habits of highly effective teens. And so one of the kind of the beginning chapters prior to us starting in the habits, it's called Get in the Habit, which just kind of goes over habits in general, good, the bad, the ones that don't really matter, all the things. But as you can see, I had that really basic, just Google Slides template. And I mean, I just kind of filled it up with the same old, same old. And then I switched it over. I knew that I wanted to go kind of with an outdoorsy theme, because a lot of habits have to do with getting in shape and exercising and making good choices and being healthy and all those things. But I felt like a lot of the ones that I was finding were kind of elementary. So I actually found this one, and then I was able to go to Free Pick and switch out some of the pictures to get a kind of a more teenagey feel. And so that's how I came up with this one. But actually just taking the slides that you currently have and just upgrading them, making them a little bit more visually appealing, that in and of itself shows that you spent a ton more time on it. And I think the kids appreciate that, because at that point they know that you have totally invested in your classroom and in your ability to get the point across to them. So in order to get onto SlideGo and to get your template, so when you figure out which template that you want, you have 4 different options. You can either download it to Google Slides, you can download it as a PowerPoint, it can go to Canva now, which I'm super excited about. And then SlideGo also has an online editor that you can, it's very similar to Canva, but you can actually manipulate the slides and your slide deck in the online editor as well. So I love how it can go to all these different platforms. I'm kind of a Google Slides person just because I feel like it's a little bit easier to manipulate. In Canva, I think there's a lot of moving parts. And so I get kind of frustrated if too many things move at once. So I'm a Google Slides kind of gal. But as you can see over here on the left, this is what my presentation looked like at the beginning. It was super hard to read on a screen because the wording was just too small, and there was too much of it. I mean, as you can just tell, there was just way too much on a slide. And I think when you have too many words on a slide, the kids start to focus on that instead of focusing on you. And this should be a teaching aid. It shouldn't be what teaches the kids. At least in my opinion. When I get up in front of a classroom, I want the kids to pay attention to me. And then if I tell them to write anything down, then I'll let them know what to write down. But other than that, it should just be to support me as a teacher, and getting my point across and opening up that discussion. So this is what it went to. I actually took this particular slide deck. The one that I had originally created was really, really long. And so I took it and I divided it out into 2 different sections, really because the 2 different sections had 2 kind of different themes on it, but I just kind of mushed them all together. So in order to take them all apart, I was able to find themes that went with the particular discussion that we were going for. So for this example, paradigms and principles is all about how you see the world. And what better way to talk about how you see the world than through lenses? And that could be camera lenses, it could be physical lenses, it could be all kinds of different things. And so this particular template just really, really went well with that. And I'm super excited about it. I haven't pushed it out to my kids yet. That'll happen in a couple of days. But I'm super excited about this particular one. And then also, one of the big things with me and SlideGo and all of the templates that they have is that it makes me redo my way of thinking and how to present the information to the kids, because visually appealing things is not necessarily my forte, but they have all these really, really creative people who are designers and create all of these wonderful templates. And so I feel like when they have their templates there, I need to fit what I'm saying onto their template because it is visually appealing. And so if I have too much information on a slide, then I'm going to split my slide and I'm going to go to 2 different ones, because I would rather have less on one and have multiple than have too much on one, and it's overpowering. And I didn't know that before I started using these and incorporating different quotes and stuff in there. That's been super fun. Having the ones that have some of my favorites are the ones that have the phone template on them, so that I can go ahead and put like a screenshot of my phone to teach my kids how to download an app or where to click or whatever. Or even they have some that are monitors, so I can go ahead and put my YouTube videos, and I can narrow it down and put it on there. And then it's just visually appealing for the kids, which encourages engagement in the classroom. So I'm really excited about this, y'all. Okay. This is so cool. Have you ever had those times where you are making an activity in the lesson and you thought, oh my gosh, I just wish I could have this one particular picture with this one particular person or this one particular item, and I don't want all the frills, I just want this. This is the way to do it. So FreePic has come up with an AI image generator, which will allow you to choose what kind of image you want and have it be able to just generate it for you on the spot. So if you're a history teacher and you want to do something fun with a quote from George Washington, you could type into the prompt. I literally type these prompts in. George Washington wearing a blue t-shirt with his hand on his chin like he's thinking. He looks bored. There's a thought bubble next to his head and he's looking at the camera. Like, that's the prompt that I put in, and I got a few of them like that, and that's the one that I picked because I thought that was the best. But it's really just super fun. For science, anything that you can imagine, you can put any kind of prompt in there. If you just want the dissection of an atom with only the nucleus labeled, that's what you would write in as the prompt. For math, there are so many times whenever you're looking for just specific things to do ratios or to do, I've got an example in just a second where we're going to do one of the Pythagorean theorem. If I said that right. I don't math well, so I had to get help for this one. But so I did this prompt right here where all that I put in was looking down on a table. There are 3 red apples in a bowl and 4 green apples in a different bowl, and there are 2 red apples by themselves on the table. And that's what it came up with, because that's what AI does. So there are so many different uses for this in the classroom. It's really, really a cool tool to be able to use. So in order to get here, you're going to go to the main FreePic page, and then you're going to click on this little down arrow right here. And then you'll click on AI images. And from there, you'll come up to a screen that has this kind of prompt in the corner. And so let me move to that. Hang on just a second.
I love that George Washington picture.
I know, right? Isn't that cool? Like, that was so much fun. Okay, so this is kind of what I came up with. My friend has a she showed me a word problem that they have that they truly go over, and the word problem is Andrew needs a ladder to hang holiday lights. His house is 24 feet tall, and he has a flower bed that extends 4 feet from the side of his house. How long of a ladder will he need to reach the top and be out of the flower bed? So basically, the Pythagorean theorem would be the triangle that goes from the house, the ladder, and the ground. Okay, so that's what you're looking for. You're looking for a picture that kind of models that. So I put in exactly what that prompt was minus the numbers on it. And I added a little bit more detail by saying like a 2-story house and Christmas lights and whatever. Okay. And then, so what it came up with was a few things. And then I clicked on one of the pictures, and this is the new prompt that it gave me. So that says, if you guys can read it, Andrew, a Middle Eastern male, is on an extension ladder decorating holiday lights on his 2-story house with a traditional look. The house features a stone facade and a welcoming porch. The flower bed is adorned with roses and tulips. The ladder leans against the house from outside of the flower bed at dusk, with ambient lights beginning to glow around the home. High detail, blurry, muted colors, long explosion, motion blur. Okay. And then the only change that I made to that was I made it a cartoon instead of a real photograph. But then there are just different ones that have come up with it. I kind of like this one on the left. But as you can see, some of them are kind of funny. Like this one, he's not even on the ladder. This one I think is a girl. But you just have to choose which one kind of fits what you're looking for. Um, and then once you pick it, you can even reimagine it. You can do some other things. You can take things out. Like if I didn't want this light right here, I could take the light out. If I wanted it to be a different gender of a person, or if I wanted it to be longer hair, I could put that in there. But I kind of like this one because it gives the kids a good idea of what they're looking for. Like they could truly draw the triangle right there. So that's kind of free pick. But the other thing that I was really excited to show you guys is that I actually had my kids do this on the first day of school. So like I said, I teach a career class. So I had my kids, I chose one of the All About Me slide decks, and I just put my own stuff in there. I made a little template for my kids. So on the first day of school, they logged into their Chromebooks and they did an All About Me slide. So it had their name, it had a picture of them, it had a picture of their family, if they had one available. If not, they just had a picture of a family. And then siblings, it had what their hobbies were and a picture of that. And then it had a quote, because again, I wouldn't have thought about doing that if it wasn't for SlideSgo. It had one of their favorite quotes on it. And then at the end, they had to tell what they wanted to be. And then they had to go to free pick and generate an image that looked like them in the career field that they chose. So right away, on the first day of school, my kids got a visual image of themselves in the career field that they wanted to be in. I was so excited. The looks on the kids' faces were just priceless. They were just like, I can't believe it. That looks so much like me. And this particular student of mine, she's incredible. She wanted to be the president of the United States. So this is her visualizing herself as the president of the United States. I think she could very well get there in the future. She's a very special girl. Okay, so after that, after you've gotten all your slide deck together, if you wanted to get some AI generated images, that's great. You could put them all together in your slide deck. And then the cool thing is that you can then import those slides into Canva if that's not the platform that you use to create everything to begin with anyway. So you can import that into Canva by if it's from Google Slides, which is what mine usually is. I change it from Google Slides to PowerPoint. Like I just download my Google Slides into a PowerPoint file, and then I upload them into Canva. So when I'm in Canva, then I go to resize and magic switch, and I make it into a video. So once I've made it into a video for this particular one, I took a slide deck because I also teach Spanish. So I took a slide deck and I made my entire syllabus on it. Anything that was going on in my classroom, all the procedures, everything that I needed my kids to know, I put it on a slide deck. And then, because I got really excited about it after I finished it, I wrote a really quick script of what I would say for each one of the slides. And then I recorded it in kind of snippets for each one of the slides. So after that, I actually added all of my audio to it, and then narrowed down the transition, or narrowed down the slides to match my audio. And then I was able to create this whole video of me explaining all of the rules and guidelines and the expectations and everything for my class. So I was really, really, really excited about this. The whole thing ended up taking, I think, like the video itself is about 10 minutes, just because there's quite a bit to go over in a foreign language. But I was super, super excited about being able to post this to my kiddos. And then I thought, you know what? Why stop there? Let's put that video into Edpuzzle. So I did. I uploaded my video into Edpuzzle. And then from there, I was able to add open-ended questions, multiple choice questions, true false questions, all kinds of things. And the cool thing about Edpuzzle is that if you don't have time or if you want somewhere else to start, you can just go to the teacher assist button right here and have it generate questions for your video, which is really, really neat. I like to do that because I like to have something to start with. And then I can go back and modify and change and add if I want to, but it's someplace where I don't have to start from scratch. So at the end of all of this is when now I have this really cool assignment that I can give an activity to my kids who weren't there on the first day of school, who don't know the expectations, or who transfer in its semester, or sometimes, I know this is probably only in my classroom, but sometimes we get those questions, after we've already been in school for a couple of months where they're like, Miss, I didn't know you had tutorials. And I'm like, oh, well, it looks like you might have forgotten some things that we went over in the expectations. Let me just assign you this Edpuzzle video again so you can have a refresher. Yeah, that really works. It's very cool. And then you don't have a whole lot of people who are, forgetful after that. It's very easy to kind of manage it at that point. So I was really excited about this, but this is a really cool way to do any kind of procedures that you wanted to do. You start with a good basis of a good slide deck, and then you add yourself explaining it. You can even add yourself with a video of it, like a video of you intermingled throughout it. There's a lot of different ways that you can use Edpuzzle, starting with your own slide deck. So another way I use this, and I'm actually going to be using this assignment next week. I use this with quizzes. Quizzes is a really cool kind of a one-stop shop. So once you have a good slide deck in hand, I'm going to use this Paradigms and Principles ones again. But when you have a good slide deck in hand, you can, with quizzes, you can create an entire lesson that would be interactive for your kiddos. And now you can do this lesson live with your students, or you can assign it as practice. So what I did was I uploaded all of my slides. And then from there, you can add slides to it that will create these interactive parts. So if I was to click the start a live lesson, which I'm not going to do that right now because it'll mess everything up, but if I was to click the start a live lesson, then the code would pop up. And then all of my students on their Chromebooks or on their phones, if you allow that, they just type in the code and then now they're logged into my lesson. So anytime a question comes up, they would then be able to answer that question on their own Chromebook. And I would get that data real time to be able to use that with them. So when you're talking about icebreakers and exit tickets, this is a really good way to incorporate those into your lesson. So you get that real-time data before they even leave. And in some cases, which we'll talk about in just a minute, there's ways to do that anonymously for the kids so that they don't feel like they'll get made fun of if they do the wrong one or whatever. So this is just a really cool way to do that. So from here, as you can see, like I put some open-ended questions. What is something that you or someone else has said that was true at the time, but ended up not being true over time? The book actually starts out with some really stupid quotes that people have said, similar to "Nothing of importance happened today" by King George III on July 4th, because he was trying to negate the fact that we had declared our independence. So that's kind of funny, but it gives the kids just a little bit of an opportunity to incorporate things of their own life into the lesson. And from there, we can keep on going. I mean, there's just a ton of different things that you can add into this. Quizzes also has the ability to take videos of any kind. See, I put my Spanish syllabus into it as well. You can take videos of any kind and then upload those, and it will also generate questions for it. Then you can upload these assignments to Google Classroom or whatever your LMS is. I like to do this because I have several students who are at PACE, which is our alternative campus. And then I also get students who are in ISS for the day, in school suspension. So they're not going to be in my classroom, but I still need them to learn the lesson and participate in the lesson. So quizzes is a really great way for me to be able to do that, because it is interactive, but then it also does have the slides to be able to do independently and on their own time. And last but not least, one of my favorite things is CurryPod. So CurryPod is a relatively new EdTech tool, and it is specifically designed to be completely 110% interactive and to get every single student in your class to participate in whatever your lesson is. So when you go into CurryPod, which is just currypod.com, when you go into CurryPod, you have the opportunity to upload your own slides, which is what I normally do, and then have AI generate the integrated part, like the interactive part with your students, or you can create your own as you go. But there are I think five basic tools to go along with that. Let me check my slide deck real quick, because I've been moving forward without moving my slides. There we go. Oh, too fast.
And someone was asking, Stacie, if you pay for quizzes, or if it has a cost, or if you are using anything free.
Yeah, okay, that's a great question. So there is a paid for version of quizzes, but there is also a free version of quizzes. And it all has to do with how many activities you keep on your login. So if you're willing to delete some activities, then you should be able to continue to use it for free. Fortunately, my district is able to purchase that for us, and so I don't have to worry about deleting any of my stuff. But there are some EdTech tools that I do have to delete my stuff because I can only do the free versions of it. So it's just up to you. Honestly, quizzes isn't that expensive, I don't think. And so it might be just a case of you asking your principal to see if that's even an option. Yeah, so quizzes is a really great one. I really like it. But back to CurryPod. So CurryPod has the opportunity to have an open question, a word cloud. You can draw with it. You can have a poll with it. There's AI feedback and a whiteboard. And then there's a ton of stuff that you can do with the different STAR tests, which is kind of Texas related, but so it's our Texas assessment, like our assessment for all of our kids that all of our kids have to take. But you can use it. I know that they're starting different ones for different states with whatever your assessment is. So yeah, there's a ton of different things, but I like to use it because both of my classes don't have any STAR tests or assessments or anything like that are, across the board. So I like to use it whenever I want discussion in my class. If I want to have a discussion about things in both my classes, I'm pretty lucky. Both my classes, Spanish 1 and my career explorations course, they lend themselves to discussion. And so I try to incorporate anything I can that's going to get my kids to speak and that's going to get my kids to discuss with themselves, like discuss in their tables, discuss with me, because we need that kind of open communication. So for this one, I actually put, as an example, I put my digital syllabus into CurryPod, and then on the first day of school, in my Spanish classes, we did this interactively, which was super fun. So for this, I uploaded all my slides and then I added some to it. So this is one of the interactive slides. So it says, what is one word that describes your emotions when you think of Spanish class? And that is a word cloud activity. So they were able to type in either their phones or in the Chromebooks if they didn't have a phone, one word. And I got a lot of confusion, but I got a lot of excitement. I got a lot of nervousness, which is good. But the cool thing about CurryPod is that when they log in, there's a moderator tool. So on my phone, I use a Clever Touch. And so on my phone, I can scan a code on my Clever Touch, and then I have access to all of the answers before they come up. When they come up on the screen, they are totally anonymous. They give them fake names. But I can see their real names on my phone. And if anything is inappropriate before it even goes up, I can toss it out, which I really, really like, because again, I think maybe it's just my kids who are inappropriate sometimes, but I mean, sometimes you just have to moderate that. And then, so this is part of my slideshow presentation, my digital syllabus. On this one, I had a little blurb in Spanish, and then I was able to have a translating part right here where I translated it into English. And I had the kids, even all the kids who didn't speak Spanish, I had them look at the translation and then figure out what the cognates are. Those are the words that look the same in English and Spanish and mean the same thing. And so on the next slide, interactively, they had to pick out 3 cognates, which was really cool, because then they got to compare the 2 languages and see that they do already know some things in Spanish without even having to be taught them. So this was a really, really cool activity. One of the best ones, one of the ones I like the most are the draw features, because you can use this in a number of different ways. So the ones that it comes up with, you can use them as brain breaks, which my kids are very fond of, because who wouldn't want to draw a unicorn with a mustache doing the cha-cha on a rainbow, which is really fun. But if I was in a regular ed classroom and I just wanted to do this for science, I could have my kids draw and label an atom. I can have my kids draw and label a cell. And from this particular area, while they're drawing it, they have the opportunity to look for different icons. They can look for pictures on their phone that they can add to it. They can add sticky notes. Or if I wanted to, as a teacher, before they even get to that, as a part of the slide deck, I can add a background to it. So if I wanted to add a slide that has just the cell on it, with all the pieces, like all the parts to it, then I can have my kids label all of the pieces on there as part of the activity. We've done it before in CurryPod in meetings. We've done it with an ugly sweatshirt, like an ugly sweater contest for Christmas, where the background of it was just some blank sweaters and we had to draw the ugly parts on there. It was really fun. So it is a really cool activity that you can do just for fun, or you can make it super educational, but the kids really, really like to be able to use their fingers or use their cursors to be able to draw things. And then at the end, they get to vote on the ones that they like the best, which they all like to do that too. And they all like to be the best. So that's always fun. I think, so let's recap for just a second. So first we talked about free pick. Well, first we talked about the importance of slide decks and how all of the slide decks that I have ever found with SlidesGo have been spectacular. They've transformed the way that I teach and the way that I present to my kids, because now I feel like it's so much more visually appealing than it ever was before, and so much more engaging for my kiddos. We've talked about free pick and how to use AI generated images to enhance your teaching and to make sure that they have visualization of the concepts that you're looking for. We've talked about using your slide decks in Canva to create videos. We've talked about having Edpuzzle make those into an interactive activity with your kids. We've also talked about all of the things that quizzes can do. Well, not all the things. There's a lot more things that quizzes can do that I didn't even go over. So it's pretty versatile, but you can have it as an all class activity, or you can have it as an independent lesson. And we've also talked about CurryPod and how you can get 100% interactive participation with your kiddos, where they are not afraid to speak because it is all anonymous on their part. So that's the end of what I have for you guys today. I really appreciate you listening, and thanks for joining us and tuning in.
Thank you all so much. I want to give a big thank you to our 3 incredible teachers. They did these thoughtful, intentional presentations while opening their classrooms, while looking for rolling chairs, while dealing with their AC. And we love you. Thank you so much for your time and your passion. I'm going to pass it over to Enrique, who's going to introduce our raffle.
Sorry, I was muted. Okay, raffle time. So we're gonna ask each of the presenters to choose a name from the list of participants. While we get that worked out and they sent Monica the name, I encourage you all to scan our community groups that you can join. We have a circle community that Monica manages. So if you join that community or if you're already part of it, you're gonna be hearing from Monica much more often. And the Facebook group that I manage. So if you join our Facebook community, you'll be hearing more from me. Both these communities are opportunities for you to share ideas, to share your presentations, share anything you've been working with SlideSgo, and engage with people. Also hear about more events that we have, more opportunities, more exciting products that we're going to be launching, and more ideas. So if you haven't scanned it yet, please do so. And for the 3 winners, if we can have Monica announce it, the 3 names that we have.
All right, I'm going to go with, this is a year of SlideSgo premium subscription. If I call your name, please give us your email in the chat so that we can make sure we send it to you. Okay, we have Kevin Lee is our first randomly chose recipient. We have Denise and Ikonomu. And then Stacie, do you want to call out a person?
I would love to. I would like Nasreen. Nasreen.
All right. So we got
All
Nazreen,
right.
Kevin, and who did I say? Denise.
Yes,
Congratulations.
please. The 3 of you, can you just type your email in the chat and send it to me or to the group? And we'll make sure that in the background we activate your premium accounts so you can have access to all the treats that are hidden behind that little paywall.
Wow.
But don't worry,
Remember,
we have stuff for everybody.
yes, and remember that we also have a very generous free registration. So you don't have to pay to enjoy SlideSgo. You can also just enjoy the free tools with some limitations, but they're also very generous. Okay, and before we go, you're gonna be hearing from us after this event with 1 or maybe 2 emails. Those emails are gonna have some very important information for you. You're gonna be able to find the toolkit, and the toolkit is something that we created in collaboration with some teachers that spells out and describes the tools that we have, how you can use them, some examples, as well as links that directly take you to those tools. We also will really appreciate your feedback. And you're also going to get a certificate for 1.4 hours of PD time, as well as the recording of this event. Everyone that registered for this event is getting a 25% discount code from SlideSgo. And if you're interested in bringing some of these tools to your classroom or to your school, your district, we offer free training demos, engagement events with you. So we're happy to engage with you. Shoot us an email. You're going to be hearing from us as well. So we really appreciate your time and we appreciate our speakers. Big round of applause for them. And we hope to see you again soon and hope to stay engaged with you in the future as well.
Thank you all for joining us and staying with us this whole time. Have a wonderful school year. See you soon. Bye. Come join us on Circle and Facebook. Bye. Thank you all.